Iran's president is calling for unity this morning after he baselessly blamed the U.S. and Israel for inciting protests across the country. They've been going on for weeks. The demonstrations show no signs of slowing down at all, and security forces are confronting protesters as part of a violent crackdown. Human rights groups say that at least 133 people have died so far, and police have arrested hundreds more who are outraged that 22-year-old Mahsa Amini died in the custody of the country's morality police.
Across the country flouting the law, some uncovering their hair, many even chanting death to the dictator. Calls for freedom.
Full force, they can be in power forever, but of course they're wrong.
Mazir Bahari is the London-based editor of Iran Wire News and a former political prisoner in Iran.
So how is this young generation different from previous young generations in Iran?
My generation and the generation after me, we gave the government the chance to reform itself. But this generation can see that this government, the Islamic Republic, cannot be reformed. So this government has to be ended.
The Islamic Republic has been around for 43 years, and many young Iranians are fed up with the global isolation and severe sanctions imposed on their country. Our problem is not with Islam or religion. We just want people to live as they like in Iran and not be jailed for it. Please hear our voices, she adds. Help us in any way you can.
Anne-Marie, as you know, I am half Iranian, and I lived and reported in Iran for several years. These days, many Iranians are reaching out, saying it's very important for the international news media to keep the protests and the regime response in the spotlight.
And I know, that the protests have spread really sort of around the world. There have been protests in a number of other countries over this. But what about the government? Is the government responding in any way to these continued protests?
It is responding, but mainly with force and harsh tactics. I mean, we've seen images of security forces using tear gas, water cannons, metal pellets, in some cases live fire. We've seen videos of protesters getting beaten up, a woman who gets her head hit on the pavement when she tries to help another woman. Pictures of protesters shot and killed in the protests. Iranian state TV says at least 41 people have been killed in the clashes that began in mid-September, but the Oslo-based Iran Human Rights Group says at least 133 Iranians have been killed by the authorities since the protests began, and that's including more than 40 people in the southeastern city of Zahedan last Friday. Thousands of others have been arrested. The authorities have also severely restricted the internet, and this is something the Iranians are calling for help with: more access to the internet, though some are finding ways to get through censorship with VPNs, virtual private networks. Anne-Marie.
So we know that this is, in response to this young woman who died in police custody, but it's clearly much more than that. It's not just women taking to the streets, though there are many, many different sort of ages, men and women. What are they upset about beyond the morality police, and what do they want to see happen?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Anne-Marie. These protests did start out against the morality rules and the death of Mahsa Amini, but they have spread to many walks of life, different ages and ethnicities across the country. So while a lot of girls and women are involved, and they've been calling for women's rights, because according to law, like family law, employment law, women are still largely considered second-class citizens. The protests have spread to both genders, different generations. Young people especially want more freedom, the end of repressive rules about what they can wear, how they can socialize. They want Iran to be part of the international community because their country has been isolated by sanctions and their policies in the Middle East. Young people want to be able to speak out without the threat of getting arrested. Many people are also protesting corruption, Iran's battered economy, a climate crisis stemming from mismanagement. But from the slogans, you can tell that they want more than just reform. They want the end of this regime. They've been yelling death to the dictator and the mullahs must get lost. And that is a huge risk to their safety in Iran, but it seems they feel there's nothing to lose anymore.
No, and some indeed have lost their lives with these protests, but yet they continue. Roxana, thank you.